welcome to episode 3 of our Big Picture Love Stories show. She is your host, Lucy Loveland.
And she is your host, Naomi Robertson. And today, we are your guests. So today we're just going to have a little chat about emotional intelligence, self-determination theory, vulnerability, meditation, and self-compassion, how it's different from self-esteem.
And today we're going to be asking each other what we always ask our guests is our 3 poignant relationships. However, we have more than 3 because we can do that. So yeah, let's dive on in. Lucy.
Emotional intelligence, it's a big key word. And so I was going to talk about the 4 components of it.
Yes, excellent.
So component number 1, have self-awareness. So know thyself, basically. Yep. Number 2 is have self-management.
Okay.
So having self-control or willpower or goals or purpose, Number 3, have other awareness. So being aware of what others might be feeling. They might not say it out loud, but just kind of having that awareness of people's moods and needs. And relationship management, being able to have those friendships, being able to listen with an open heart. I mean, Bento talked about this when we interviewed him too, right?
Listening.
He did it through his rap song, which was really entertaining.
That was great, yeah.
And so it brings me to basically, like, if we first start with self-awareness, there's this thing called the self-determination theory. Okay. Which has 3 components. I'm just breaking everything into little parts.
We do. We love breaking things up.
So the self-determination theory basically claims that we feel most fulfilled if we have these 3 areas, which is autonomy, having the freedom of choice and control. So feeling in control of our lives. Competence, feeling confident and capable in what we do. So if we're in a job that we feel completely inadequate, it kind of brings us into a bummer mood. And relatedness, feeling connected to others, so that's the fulfillment that we need. And so I was going to go into just different aspects of our self-growth. And I think one that gets overlooked is vulnerability. And I was just going to say, like, our brain responds, what we call in research terms, vulnerability is personal sharing, or self-disclosure is the term we use. So our brain responds to self-disclosure the same way it responds to food.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's really gratifying, especially if we share it with someone we trust.
So so you need it, and once you get it, you're feeling fulfilled and it ticks the right boxes for you.
Yeah. Like so food. Basically, if it's someone we trust, if we just got ignored, if the response of sharing something vulnerable is not that great, it does not feel good, obviously.
No.
But if it's somebody that cares, it just feels like a weight lifted off our shoulders.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And then research shows, right, romantically, if the more a couple shares, the happier they tend to be. And now I wanted to share a beautiful story that I think brings home a lot of things that we need and that this pandemic is helping us realize. So it's called the allegory of the long spoons. So this is my favorite. I've heard it since I was 8 years old. And it's basically the difference between heaven and hell. So in both places, everybody is at a feast. Okay. So if you look down a doorway and you see down door number 1 is heaven, down number 2 is hell. In both places, you will see a feast and everybody's gathered around the table. And everyone, instead of having hands, they have these long spoons as hands.
Yes.
Have you heard this story before?
Yes. No. I love it. Explain it because it's a great story for those who haven't heard of it.
So they have these really long spoons, and in hell, they're trying to feed themselves with these long spoons, and they keep missing their mouth. But in heaven, they figured out a way to do it that makes them all happy. They feed each other.
Amazing.
Isn't it amazing? I just find that.
It is so simple because like I remember seeing someone made a video, like an animation out of this, where the soup is in the middle of this there's a big like hole, like a crater, and people are around the crater, but there's like soup and food in the middle of the crater, just on this bit of rock that's protruding out in the middle. And they obviously can't get to it. They're all holding spoons to get across, and they keep fighting with each other to get to it, and they're all bashing each other away, and then they're trying to like get it in their mouths, and it's like elbowing the next person, and then all they do is pick it up and feed the person opposite, and that's how they all get fed. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
What's the word? Story, lesson,
Allegory. Yeah.
Allegory.
Yeah. Because, and I think that's what I felt in the community that is in your town.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think you hear about it and you never see it done, and to see like the spitting image of what exactly that means in real life is. So every time we did Showstoppers and we had to serve food after the first act as a cast, and everybody's hands on deck serving, that was the most emotional and touching moment. I had tears in my eyes every time I did it, because it was look at this, we're feeding each other, we're doing the whole you're doing the story
since you knew when you were younger. It is, no one's got a hierarchy or position. It doesn't matter if you're in it, you've directed it, or you've painted a set. If your help is needed, then it's going to be given. Yeah,
and I just love, like, it doesn't matter your background, where you came from, we're all a group and we treat each other as equals, and we're in this together, and we're putting on this show. Like, it's a beautiful experience. It's a lot of hard work and it's draining, but then you see it and your family enjoys it.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. There's a roller coaster of emotions, like bipolar emotions going up and down, like all the time. Yeah. But it's always worth it. You always remember that feeling of when you're doing it and when it's the end, that you've had such a great time. So it helps you push through the times where it's like long rehearsals, you're tired, you're working on top of it, it's good.
I was going to bring up the Four Horsemen. Now, I was going to test you on this because I tested you this on before. What are the Four Horsemen, Naomi, of the apocalypse from Dr. Gottman?
So I'm not cheating. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse by Dr.
John Gottman.
That person. John Gottman, good dear family friend of mine. So the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse are symbols for how things can go wrong in a relationship. One of them is contempt.
Yes.
Oh yes, on a roll. One of them is, I need to Google them. One of them is contempt. One of them is, it's not pride. It's like lack of communication. The silent treatment.
A silent treatment. Yes. Stonewalling. Yes.
Stonewalling. Thank you.
Yes.
Another one is blame.
Criticism.
Blame.
Yes. Criticism. Which encompasses.
And then lack of respect. Another one is lack of respect.
It's so what happens when you are criticized? You get
defensive.
Yes.
Attack.
Defensiveness.
That wasn't painful at all. And for our listeners and watchers, Lucy, maybe you should just say the list again. So it's clear.
Yes, absolutely. Criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. Now, criticism, very easy to remember. So criticism is where we criticize someone. Now, I wanted to say, it's not like we can't do these. Obviously, we're very good at doing these. It's not like we're going to absolutely 100% stop, but there'll be one that we're kind of really good at and might default to a lot more. And so we want to try to work at doing the antidote of them. So the antidote for criticism is to do a gentle startup. And Don and Alex actually talked about this a little bit in their program, right? Starting with the good. Remember when they talked about polarizing,
That's
having,
right. Yes.
yeah, polarizing point of views and starting with the good. So having a that's contributes to a gentle startup than just criticizing and saying you just do everything wrong. You just, you are doing this on purpose and assuming the worst in your partner or friend
Yes.
or relative. And the antidote to defensiveness is taking responsibility. So the defensiveness is where like, well, I didn't do it, you do it. So it's helpful to take some responsibility, even if it's a small amount, just kind of saying, oh, you're not crazy. I did do that, basically.
Yeah.
And the antidote
You're
to
not
contempt
crazy, I promise.
is validating the problem.
Listening
Uh-huh.
and yeah.
The antidote to contempt is build a culture of responsibility. Um, oh, I'm sorry, not responsibility. Build a culture of appreciation. I'm sorry, of
So that's the
appreciation. So
antidote. So building a appreciation is the antidote to
contempt.
got it.
And now contempt, everybody's like, what is that? It is contempt is when we feel a little superior to somebody else.
Right.
We kind of look down on them. We would, one example Gottman gave was correcting their grammar in the middle of an argument. Yeah. So it's just kind of like putting that, I'm a little smarter than you, or I'm a little better at something than you. So it could be a rolling of the eyes, like really subtle, like you just said something dumb and I'm showing how defective you are as a person. Or it could be really direct and saying you're stupid, like, or you're an idiot, you shouldn't have done that. So that's why the antidote to that is building appreciation. So you admire the person a little more instead of looking down on them.
Yes.
So, and stonewalling is the antidote for that is physical soothing. So, in the Love Lab, they monitored the heart rates with their pulsing and everything to see who was what they call flooded. So if you're flooded, it's like your heart rate is like in fight or flight mode. And the people that were shut down actually had higher flooding than the other people that were kind of screaming.
Oh wow.
So that's very interesting. And
That
so the
is.
person, you think they're shut down and they're tuned out and they're checked out and they're just not involved, but they're actually trying to contain this flooding of emotions and feelings of fight or flight. So that antidote is to learn how to self-soothe and to soothe others. So first you have to soothe yourself, and then you can learn when you're calm how to soothe the other person. But, and I was going to get into that because to do that, I think meditation is really important. That's something I've been practicing since I was 8 years old.
Oh wow, amazing.
Yeah, it's been really, really nice to kind of go to a place of peace. But also, I remember my first couples communication class that I ever went to with Alfred. We were a year married. And so that was what, we've been married almost over 16 years. So that was a long time ago. Thank you. And then the therapist said, the research has shown that meditation slows down the brain waves. So you're not feeling easily stressed or easily flooded. So it's a really nice way to just kind of calm down. And I saw this documentary, which I highly recommend, called Free the Mind.
Maybe we can put it in a link in the description below.
I will definitely include it in the link by Dr. Richard Davidson. He worked with the Dalai Lama, and it's a great documentary of how having PTSD, meditation can calm you, with a child, men that have gone to the Iraq War, to different kinds of experiences, that it really reduces your stress levels. We actually started watching this week Headspace Guide to Meditation on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
And It's so good because it really talks about how it changes you physically and in your brain, right? Your feelings and your emotions. So it's showing that parts of your brain that make you happier are actually growing like a muscle. So it's
Oh,
really,
wow, amazing. What I find interesting about meditation is that it's only, I know meditation has been around for a very long time. You know, it stems obviously from religions and beliefs, and it's managed to make its way into, I suppose, Western. I don't know if you can use the word
yes.
culture with Western, but yeah, Western civilization, whatever is the correct term. Um, uh, and people obviously of, you know, people who are more health conscious have taken it up, uh, told of the benefits of it, have been able to promote the benefits of it, but it's still not really a thing that's, or an exercise that's accessible to a lot of people, especially here in the UK. I don't know if it's very much like a, like say, like a London thing. You know,
Mhm.
if you earn a certain amount of money, for example, you can go to meditation classes, or you get one-on-one, or you have that particular lifestyle where you can learn to meditate. You have the time off from work, or so I suppose, Lucy, what would be a good, like, if because it's obviously anyone can do it. So what
Mm.
would you say would be a good way to start if you've never even contemplated before? Would you know? So you started when you were 8, would you? So 8-year-olds, like if an 8-year-old could do it, like, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
anyone could do it really. So it's clearly quite simple. So what would you say are the good easy starting points into meditation to dive in?
I think the easiest part is to do practice the mindfulness. Like mindfulness is also kind of just focusing on some object or being aware and presently, like if you're making the bed, being presently
Okay.
aware as you're making the bed. It's
Yeah.
also like breathing exercises are
Okay.
very important, a part of it. So I would suggest starting with UCLA guided meditations. They're free. You just Google UCLA guided meditation, and there's 2 minutes if you want to start really small.
Great.
There's
Mm.
7 minutes, there's 12 minutes. We still use them as a family. I preferably feel I can ease into meditation. Like I can't just like do things, work, and then just sit down and do it. I
Mm.
like yoga. I like
Mm.
preparing the body completely for this breathing exercise, technically, and to be able to quiet my thoughts a bit.
You can literally just do it for 2 minutes. I know for a fact that I've started doing meditation because I've had serious problems with negatively talking to myself, and we do it all the time if we're not taught otherwise, and we don't even realize we're doing it. So I remember I purchased this book. I've had it for this last year, and it's called The Kindness Method. And she has an amazing name, and I can't remember her name. I'm really sorry. I'm
Mm.
terrible at authors' names. It basically it does talk about it's very easy. She gives you steps on like making lists and stuff. But what I learned most about it is how we unconsciously communicate with ourselves,
Mhm.
which will then affect how we communicate with others. So I think if you're wanting to start out, like even if your end goal is to communicate better with strangers, or to communicate better with um, a particular person, I do think it's a good place to start with yourself and with meditation. I'm not an expert, but I know for a fact that it is helping. So I think
Yes,
meditation
yes.
is great. I think people get intimidated by meditation because you feel like you need to be wearing the robes, you need to be able to be omming correctly, you need to be you need to like be, you're so in deep in a trance. I think that's the problem. I was like, I can never get into a trance because like I'll be distracted in 2 seconds. I think it's literally, you know, that you're in your bedroom in like Tooting, you know, in London. Like, you know, that, you know, there's like a siren going past. You don't have to take yourself to like a waterfall in
Yes.
like the Alps, or just even just being quiet for 2 seconds and allowing yourself to be on your own with yourself, I think is a good start. And
Yeah.
it's terrifying at first, because we're never actually really quiet of ourselves, especially in this world now with our phones, with TV, music, radio, the outside world. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a way to find peace even in the middle of chaos. And then
Absolutely.
that's how I see it. And then I see it as you kind of have a lot of love deep within. And it's kind
Yes.
of tapping into that never ending flow fountain of love,
Yeah.
so it's a nice version because like you said, you're having this bad self-talk and that kind of interferes or blocks you from that fountain of love that you have, that peace, that calm, that you are great, right? You don't have to be perfect, but you are beautiful just the way you are. And to be able
Yes.
to remind yourself and give yourself that love and attention is just really nice.
It is nice, and it is
And
really
now we will go
important.
into meditation. I'm kidding.
And now for 50
Now-
minutes of silence. Enjoy us as we're breathing and sniffing occasionally. I like you say, that love inside. I think it's like we all have the capability of love. We all have the worthiness of it. Doesn't mean we're automatically going to be able to give it to ourselves or find it. So I know for a fact that I could never be like, I think if people met me, but she's a happy-go-lucky sort of person. She's pretty chill, pretty happy. But everyone's got stuff going. I'm not saying like it's a front, but everyone like it's all very well. You can be happy on the outside, but I think if you can be content and accepting of yourself as well.
Yeah.
I think there's in this book, the kindness method, she says, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve or change yourself, like whether it be weight or a habit like smoking, or the way you approach, like the way you talk, you communicate. There's nothing wrong with wanting to change that, but just know that the fact that the way you're doing it now, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just might not be serving you anymore. So it's good to want to
Yes.
do those things as
And
well, but just
exactly. It's like it brings like to EQ, self-awareness. You're aware of yourself, and then self-management. Oh, this does not serve me anymore.
yeah, always check in with yourself every day. Have a little
Yeah.
check-in.
And I
And I
was gonna
think
say,
people oh yeah,
oh,
go.
go
No,
ahead.
go. No,
Go ahead.
you're on a roll. Go. Tell me.
Well, I was just gonna say that the fact that you said like feeling worthy, like that word worthy is a big deal. Like we sometimes may not say it explicitly, but we might imply it like you're not worthy of that kind of thing. And so I was actually, speaking of, I was going to
Yes.
mention
Yes,
the
please.
difference between self-esteem and self-compassion.
Amazing. This is amazing.
So this author that you're talking about, this kindness method, sounds like she knows about self-compassion. So if you've heard of Brene Brown, you have to know. You've never heard of Brene Brown?
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Oh my gosh, everybody listen. She has never heard of Brene Brown.
Amateur, absolute amateur. Get her off. Get her off. Get Brene Brown in now. We want her.
Okay,
Tell us.
Brene Brown has a big TED Talk. She works with Oprah. I mean, people will be mad to hear that. No, I'm kidding.
I'm so sorry.
No one is going to be mad at you. No. So if you've heard of Brene Brown, then you should know about Kristen Neff, who's a great researcher on self-compassion.
Yes.
And I will link her book as well, because that's a book I wanted to recommend as well. So instead of self-esteem, I think it's self-compassion that we need. So many times we judge ourselves by measuring and comparing our self-worth. Right? So are we successful? Are we smart? Are we good at what we do? Are we attractive? Do we have friends? Do we think we're a good person? But self-compassion, we don't need to worry about all that. We don't need to worry about being the best at anything or being better than anyone in looks and money and talent and social status and age. So self-compassion is better than self-esteem. It doesn't check if you're special or not.
Yes.
So instead of comparing ourselves, self-compassion embraces who we are fully with our strengths and weaknesses, regardless if we've recently done something wrong. Our self-esteem drops when we make a mistake or fail. We feel like, oh, we're not enough. So our self-esteem drops. But our self-compassion doesn't leave us alone at all. I'm just going to read what Kristen Neff says. People who invest in their self-worth and feeling superior and infallible tend to get angry and defensive when their status is threatened. People who compassionately accept their imperfection, however, no longer need to engage in such unhealthy behaviors to protect their egos. Also, self-compassion offers a doorway out of less anxiety and less depression. And so there's three
Absolutely.
components to self-compassion: just self-kindness, right? Like you were saying about the kindness method, being kind to yourself, common humanity.
Yeah.
So having self-compassion and recognizing suffering and personal failure is part of the human experience. And mindfulness. So that's where you're taking a balanced approach to one's negative emotions so that feelings are neither suppressed nor exaggerated. So you're kind of just mindful of who you are and what that entails, and just kind of being accepting and loving. So there's exercises actually on her website that you do, like, as say you feel kind of bad about something. Well, what would you say to a friend?
Yes, that's a great one.
Right.
Yeah. Someone
So
you
writing
care
a
about.
letter, how would you write that letter to your friend? Now write that letter to yourself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful, because it is, you wouldn't usually, I like to think not many people will do this, but often what you do if a friend's saying, oh, like a big part of it comes with weight or things that people at the moment is, you know, people are trying to fight against this whole at the moment, especially on Instagram, is such an amazing, our TikTok is such an amazing forum for people to break taboos and stuff like that. So there's weight positivity people out there and stuff like that. So, but if a friend comes up to you saying, "Oh, I'm looking a bit rubbish," or "Oh, I'm a bit useless," you go, "No, of course you're not. Look at all these wonderful." They give you, and you give them a list of all these wonderful things they've done, or they be like, "Well, look how wonderful you are today," or or you say, "That's okay if you're feeling a bit rubbish today. That's perfectly normal, but that's not every day." Look, but
Mhm.
we won't say that to ourselves. I think we're either embarrassed or it's just like something that's just not done. I don't know if it's necessarily a cultural thing. Maybe we should ask people after this, like, get people to write in the comments, like, their
Right.
how they feel about how they've been taught self love and self compassion.
Yeah, and how they talk
Um,
to themselves, because
yeah,
also some
how they talk.
people, like, we might say, there might be people that say, well, I don't really judge myself at all, but
Mm,
they might suppress some shame, right?
mm,
Like if there's feeling uncomfortable, we all make mistakes. And I
absolutely.
think that's really important to know. I mean, I remember there was an experiment I took when I did my degree at UCI. There
Mm,
was in class, they told us someone here cheated. There's 400 students, and they said someone here cheated on an exam. And then they asked us, and I thought it was weird, so I kind of started suspecting something, but they asked us, what do you prefer, that the person fail the class, we find that person and they fail, or everybody should take the test again and give someone a chance? I forget like all the options. And then I kind of saw the assistant teacher who was doing her grad degree kind of smiling about things. And so then they exposed and said that was a joke. And basically, they noticed that we had like these remote clickers to decide like
yes.
what we decided. We want someone else to pay for justice.
Yeah.
But when it's us, we're like, no, we don't. We want a little bit more leniency. Give us a break. On
Yeah.
the other side of self-talk. So there we wanted the person to
Fail.
fail and
Yeah. It's not
drop the
fair.
class and drop out of school. I don't know. We were just
Oh,
like, as a group of 400 students, we were pretty harsh.
yeah.
And, but when we make a mistake, maybe with ourselves, we're harsh with ourselves, but out in public, we may say, oh, give us another chance, or it's not a
Yeah.
big deal, or let's just blow it off. Because it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to accept sometimes
It
a mistake.
is. I mean, that's an interesting way. That's an interesting way to experiment with it, because it is often where you get the day-to-day injustices like that.
Hmm.
Where like one person becomes responsible for a group. And when everyone in the group, except for one person, has done right or done what was fair, and one person hasn't done what's fair, should the group then sacrifice to give them a chance, or should it be, you had your chance? And I think that's what people confront with every single day. And I think you're going to sometimes make a grand decision that is right, and sometimes you're going to be like, no, I'm feeling like it's not fair, so I need to make the decision of getting rid of that not rid of the person, but making them have responsibility for it. Part of this kindness method is that you write down your achievements. And a year ago, someone went to me like, you have to write down your achievements and read them back to yourself. And I didn't read them back, but sometimes if you're feeling a bit low, you go back and like, wow, I've done loads of stuff. So it's good. It's a really good thing to have. It's like a little it's a book. I've got a little booklet. It's a booklet for power. And if you're feeling like you haven't achieved anything, you open up to the achievement page and you're like, whoa. Or like if you feel like you're not a great person, you open up to your traits page and you're like, whoa, oh my God.
Yeah, which brings us to our question that we always ask every guest on the show.
3 poignant relationships.
Yes, and we said that I couldn't narrow it down, so we're doing 4 because what did you say?
We're doing 4 because it's our show and we get to do whatever we want. So we make the rules here. So if you go first with your 4, 6, 5, 8,
10, 20.
Tell us everyone you know.
I'll go with my mom's.
Nice.
My mother, obviously, and her 4 sisters. So there are 5 women.
Wow,
and
that's amazing.
They've been, my mothers, they've treated me like their own. They even introduced me like their daughter, I was a bit lucky because they all wanted a daughter and they never got one. And my mom was the lucky one, the last one to get the daughter. So I really felt loved and cared for and, watched out for. So they did instill a lot of discipline in me. I don't think they intended to do that, because then when I got older, they said, relax a little, have a little fun. And I said, well, you kind of taught me not to. But they didn't. I think if it's one mom teaching you discipline, then you kind of balance it out. But when you have 5 women and you kind of take a break, there's someone else there teaching me math, or there's someone else teaching me how to read, or there's someone else, there was always, I was never alone. I was always taken care of and, given that kind of discipline. Number 2 would be our dog, Rocky. So he wasn't my dog. He was my, what do you call it? My cousin's dog. So my cousins were like brothers to me. So we were really all really close. And so their dog, Rocky, was a part of my life up until he passed away. And I was like 7, possibly. Always him and my friend, we would just, all the 3 of us, hang out in the backyard. I just remember all these sweet moments with Rocky. And when he passed, I wanted to blame somebody. I was so upset because he passed away. Really sad when he passed away. And I don't think I ever got a pet after that, because I was
no.
Yeah. But I want to.
He's like your one true love, and you can't replace that again, really.
Yeah.
One true doggy love.
Yeah. And he was named after Sylvester Stallone's movie, Rocky.
Amazing. I was going to ask, is it Rocky as in Rocky? Yeah.
Yes.
That's so good.
And then I guess 3 would be my husband and my son, the 2 men in my life, very important to me. And, I am who I am today because of them. Alfred has made me a better wife, and Louis has made me a better mom. And I feel very lucky to have them. And I forgot my 4th. I guess I am doing 3. Oh no, we said the 4th.
Okay.
My 4th is this beautiful community. in this beautiful village. Is it a village? I get criticized. It's a village. For an American,
I
it's
would
a village.
town. I think it's a town. I
If
think
for
it's a
England,
town.
it's
Same
for
word.
the UK, it's a town. For an American, it's a village.
It's a village.
It is
Sounds
tiny.
more picturesque.
I Googled where to live with for a family. It was on the top three, and we just kind of moved in and, prayed for the best. And I just kept seeing these shows come on. And when I saw
Okay, well.
pantomime, for us, an American, it's miming. So I thought, why would I want to see Red Riding Hood in mute? Right?
Mime.
And mime.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, that doesn't seem so fun.
No,
And
that sounds
then
dreadful.
I decided that I was going to, on the side be in shows and be in movies and things like that. And I thought, and I read that Cumberbatch, what's his name? Benedict
Oh,
Cumberbatch
beautiful
was an
man. Beautiful
amateur
man.
theatrics. And that is why I joined
Really? Oh,
the
you have a lot
amateur
to thank him
theatrics
for.
because
I'd write him
Benedict
a letter.
Cumberbatch said to do so.
Yeah.
So I said, well, if he did it, then I'm gonna do it. I didn't realize I did it more for like craft, and I didn't realize I was gonna make the best friends like I've ever had there. So
Yeah.
it's such a nice thing to be involved. I guess, I like to be doing things. I don't like to just kind of sit around and hang out. So it was really nice to spend time with friends and doing rehearsals and shows. And then my son got involved, and you
Yeah.
got to direct him in the show. So I'm forever grateful to that community, for all of you guys listening, and always will have a space in my heart. If we had never taken the risk to live in the UK, I would have never met you guys, and that just seems like a sad thought altogether. And it's
Yeah.
so beautiful
Defo.
to be a part of it, and I am continually being a part of it, even though I'm back in America. But you're not getting rid of me.
Miles away. No, we don't want to. Yeah.
What are your
Thank you for those 4.
3 or
No,
4
thank goodness.
or 5?
Oh no. My 90 people I have today. Hold on to your hats. So let's start off with the one I can think of. Which is a jump off from yours, which is the thespian community. Exactly the same. I've been with these people since I was 8 years old. Thespians actually joined when I was 10. We've spoken a lot about thespians. Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, they're lovely people. It's a proper, like, a second family. So I've learnt a lot growing up from them, been able to commit. What's great is that everyone's as different ages. So me being a 25-year-old, a lot of my friends are in their 50s, 60s, like good friends, like at least like 5, 6, 7 years older than me. But it doesn't matter. And it helps you mingle with all walks of life, which I think everyone should. I think you should have your own age group as well when you're young, especially.
Yeah, but I think it's beautiful to cross generations, to learn from each other and to support each other. I think it's such a beautiful thing, how it's just a natural, and I think that's very British tradition, because you have the pubs that people like because of the cross generation. So I can see how that is a natural thing in amateur dramatics, and it doesn't just happen in this community. It's pretty much right in lots of communities. It's almost in every town. Would you say, amateur dramatics cross generations?
I would say every town. I think every town, it does try and have amateur dramatics. I even know there's an amateur dramatics in Richmond and London. So if London can do it, it's quite a big thing in like small towns. The other one is my mother, my wonderful, wonderful mother. And I think mums are especially a big part of my life, considering she was so key to our upbringing. My dad, I didn't really have my dad around that much. They separated when I was about 5. I'm one of 5 kids, by the way, and
like my mom.
I'm the last. Like your mum, yeah, like your aunties, yeah, all those aunties, those wonderful aunties. So I'm the youngest of 5, and so of course I got the tail end of. My dad was away a lot in the army. My mum worked incredibly hard. She worked full time as a nurse, so she was doing night shifts as well, and she had 5 children. to look after, and we weren't all grown up. So when I had me, I think the eldest was 10. I think that's, you know, that's quite intense. Yeah. So she's just extraordinary because my mum, she's always she always comes from a place of love, which sounds really silly, like, oh, she's a mother, that's what they do. But even when she's, my mum's gonna listen to this, and I've got to be really not I don't have to be careful, I can be completely truthful, but she'll be like, oh god, what's she gonna say? But she's great because she's just her. She's just honest. I've learned wonderful lessons from her, like kindness and compassion. And my mum is actually the person who told me about emotional intelligence and paying attention to other people. And yeah, I've learned a lot. And she's always supported us and always done what she's found was right, which was what mothers do. But when you get older, it's only when you're older, when you're a woman yourself, if this is coming from a female, I know men have wonderful relationships with their mums, but as a female, it's only when you're a woman that you actually understand the stuff they have to do. And actually they're human, because you picture your parents as this, or your mother as this god, and they are, of course they are, but they are incredibly flawed. But it doesn't matter that they're incredibly flawed, because you are as well. And only until you recognize that, you're like, wow, the stuff they've done is pretty incredible. And you can stop with the grief so much as well, because I'm sure she'll say, you never gave me grief. My mom manages to forget just how annoying we are. That's one of her top qualities. I was a nightmare when I was like 18, 19, nightmare. And she was like, you've always been an angel, Naomi. I don't know where you get these stories from, where you've been a nightmare. So I'm great. I'm like, great, my mom's got amnesia. It's fantastic. Child of the year. So that's really handy. But she's always come from a place of love, and it's 5 kids is tough, especially we've all got very strong personalities. All the girls have very strong personalities, and she's my best mate. She's absolutely wonderful. I adore her. I feel like I'm not giving her justice.
You're making me feel like I need to give my mother more justice too. Like,
I know, no, we love you guys so much. But we could go on about, maybe I should write a thesis on my mother. Now the second one, I know I'm one of 5 and I'm not allowed to pick individual siblings. However, I will pick an individual sibling. I'm so sorry. I love them all individually. However, there is one. So my absolute idol is my eldest sister, Anna. I love my sister, Scarlett, Rosie, so much. But my idol is Anna. I have been, she's literally like the pinnacle for me. She's just the coolest human being ever. And I think I always strive to be more like her. And I know people are like, no, you be your own self, but I think it's very good to have an older sister. I'm very thankful to have an older sister, because she's gone through stuff, life. And then she can sort of make your life a bit easier. And she works in television, and she's just always been really cool. And she's a great person to go to when you're just having problems, whether it's like, it's a good sisterly problems, that you go to your mum for stuff, but sometimes it's great just to go to a sister first, like on some things. So I'm just really thankful to have, like, I feel like I've got like a celebrity, like imagine like being Benedict Cumberbatch's brother. Nice. Like imagine like having like just like a really cool, I don't know Benedict Cumberbatch, I don't know who he is really. It could be
we keep bringing him up.
I'm sure he's not, but like we do. I'm so he just seems legit cool. So imagine being access to someone genuine and lovely, and that's Anna. She's so cool. She'll say like, what's great is that like she'll have her vulnerable moments, but she's very honest about it. She's really like nonchalant. She's incredibly funny. She'll help me out, whatever. And yeah, she's my idol, absolute idol. She's like my superstar idol. So Anna is, she's awesome. If you have the privilege of getting to know Anna, then your life is set. And then my third one, this is really hard. I don't know who to think of for my third one. It would probably have to be my granny Pat, because when I wasn't hanging out with my mum when I was a kid, I would go to her house, and I would literally stay nights. I remember mum would have to come round or call and be like, can I have my daughter back mum. She'll be like, oh, she's in her pajamas now. Just pick her up tomorrow. So I'd be literally like there weeks at my grandmother's. And I remember learning all sorts of wonderful things from my gran, like cooking, like pancakes and like fried egg sandwiches, or like a bit of gardening outside. And she's very into art, my gran, so painting. I remember having a lot of my childhood at my gran's, and it's just great. And I've just been very thankful I've been able to have these three women in my life. So my lovely, beautiful mother, who's like a rock, but at the same time, she's someone I can learn from and who can also hopefully learn from me. But hopefully she doesn't have to feel like she has to be like a woman of steel all the time, and that relationship has evolved. And then I've got my superstar sister, who like is just my idol and who can do no wrong, even if she doesn't matter, she does it really cool. And then I've got my granny, who's just like, it's really beautiful, fond memories, and all these women I learn positive things from, and also like traits that I maybe like don't want to pick up, which I think is just as important. I think no one's perfect, and these women are pretty close to perfect in my eyes. Doesn't mean they actually are, but I think they've taught me a lot, each in their own way, and I've been able to become who I am with them. They've formed this pyramid, which I've been able to stand upon.
So I'm very
thankful. They're standing on the shoulder of giant women. Giant petite women.
The giant petite women.
Yeah, so I think I'm thankful. Yeah, giant petite women. Or normal sized women. Those three women are my pinnacle. Definitely. Mum's introduced me. She introduced us to music and dance. Yeah, which I think is so important.
Oh yeah, I kind of have the same upbringing with you, with my mom introducing us to dance and everything. Well, you saw the video of my mom dancing.
Your mom is amazing, ladies and gentlemen.
We have to get them together.
Is such a cat. Oh, we have to. Oh my god, amazing. Yes, 100% we have to. They literally. They probably have like a dance-a-thon. They're probably like 24 hours of non-stop dancing.
I know.
And we're like, guys, come to bed. What's the big picture, Lucy?
What's the big
picture today?
Let me look.
The big picture.
Yeah. What's the big picture?
Emotional intelligence.
Yes. I think that is a big picture.
We've spoken before.
Yes. Because I think it's about loving yourself and understanding. I think that's what helps you manage through life, because life is going to guarantee give disappointments. Absolutely. And you got to manage it. And I mean, I love feelings. I like to be in touch with my feelings. I like to share my feelings, and I like getting them off my chest. And then to me, it's like doing a number 2. It's like pooping. You know what I mean? Like you just let it off.
Amazing.
You just
doing a number 2.
Get rid of that. And because feelings are fleeting, right? They're also kind of, some of them are very temporary. So you kind of have to process them so they can just go on their way, I feel like. So absolutely. I think I like emotional intelligence. I like feelings. I like growing my vocabulary and feelings. And I like hearing about other people's feelings and helping them feel validated. So I like EQ. The big picture is to grow your feelings vocabulary.
Yes, I think so. I agree. And in touch with your own feelings, not just because don't feel like you have to just be a better, in quote, those things where you're like a better person or a more with it person. You have to be more open to other people's feelings. You probably could be really good at being open to other people's feelings, but if you're not with yourself, it's not going to work. So if you're finding that you're having trouble with feelings in general, crack into your own. And I know you don't know if you're doing it right, but you do know if you're doing it right if it's helping. Does that make sense? You'll know if it's right or if it's not working.
And it's like we're all different people. So when you learn things, right, like you're learning about kindness and everything, you learn about meditation, you learn what works for you, right? You're not going to do it exactly like the other person because we're all unique people. So you kind of do it in a way that and it fits with who you are, what your interests and needs are, and then you adapt whatever beautiful message is out there to something that works for you and your own growth and development. I really believe in growth.
Yeah.
And EQ, I think, is the way forward.
All right.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Thanks for tuning in to our episode. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us a big thumbs up, and we'll keep making that juicy content for you. Go on, subscribe. Go on, do it. Like to. Go on, subscribe. I'll turn away. Have you done it? Go on then.